I was sitting in my car after Easter dinner, hands shaking on the steering wheel. The laughter still echoed in my head. My sister-in-law Amber's voice rang clear as a bell. "You're just the ATM." And everyone laughed. My brother Marcus, my sister Diana. Even her husband Greg chuckled. My parents said nothing, just stared at their plates like the pattern suddenly became fascinating. That moment I realized something that should have been obvious years ago. When did loving my family turn into funding their lifestyle? When did I stop being Bailey the brother and son and become Bailey the bank machine? But this story does not start at that Easter table. Before I tell you how I went from being the family hero to their personal bank machine, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. If you have ever felt used by the people who are supposed to love you most, hit that like button. Subscribe because you are going to want to see how this situation unfolds. Trust me, the ending might surprise you. Now let me take you back to where this all started 3 years ago. Marcus and I grew up in a regular middle-class home in Ohio. Nothing fancy, nothing terrible. Dad worked as a mechanic at the local shop, coming home every evening with grease under his fingernails and stories about the cars he fixed. Mom was a teacher's aide at the elementary school, the kind who always had Band-Aids and encouraging words for scraped knees and bruised feelings. Marcus was 4 years older than me, and when we were kids he was everything a big brother should be. He taught me how to shoot basketball in our driveway. The hoop bolted above the garage door slightly crooked because Dad installed it after 2 beers. When Tommy Henderson and his crew tried to push me around in 7th grade, Marcus showed up and had a talk with them. They never bothered me again. We were not wealthy, but we had warmth. We had Sunday dinners and birthday cakes and Christmas mornings with modest presents wrapped in paper we saved and reused year after year. I was always the studious one. While Marcus scraped by with C's and the occasional B, I buried myself in books. Not because I loved school particularly, but because I saw it as a ticket to something more, something stable. When college acceptance letters arrived, I got a full ride to the State University for computer science. I remember Mom crying at the kitchen table, holding that letter like it was made of gold. Dad clapped me on the shoulder so hard I nearly spilled my orange juice. Marcus hugged me tight and said he was proud. That moment felt pure. College was not easy. The scholarship covered tuition and some fees, but I still needed money for books, food, and rent. I worked 3 part-time jobs. Monday and Wednesday nights I stocked shelves at a grocery store. Weekends. I bussed tables at a diner that smelled like burnt coffee and maple syrup. And whenever I could grab a shift, I did data entry for a local insurance company, my eyes burning from staring at spreadsheets until midnight. I did not want my parents to worry about money. They had done enough. I graduated with honors and landed a job offer from a tech company in Seattle, $85,000 a year. To a kid from Ohio who grew up watching his dad count pennies for gas money, it felt like winning the lottery. The first call I made after accepting the offer was to my parents. Mom answered, and when I told her, she burst into tears. Dad got on the line, his voice thick with emotion, saying he always knew I would make it. Marcus called me that night too, said we should celebrate next time I was home. Everything felt right. I had made it, and I wanted to share that success with the people who raised me. 6 months into my job, Marcus called. His voice sounded stressed, apologetic. His car transmission was shot, and he needed $3,000 to fix it. He could not get to work without the car, and he had just gotten married to Amber a few months before. They were trying to save for a house. I did not hesitate. I transferred the money that afternoon. Marcus said he would pay me back. I told him not to worry about it. He was my brother. That is what family does, right? A year later, my parents called. The roof was leaking water damage spreading across the ceiling of their bedroom. They needed $5,000 for repairs. I sent it immediately. Dad tried to insist they would pay me back in installments, but I refused. They had given me everything. This was my turn to give back. Mom cried again, but this time it was gratitude mixed with relief. When Marcus and Amber got married, the wedding was beautiful but expensive. A week before the big day, Marcus called in a panic. The caterer wanted payment up front, and they were $7,000 short. Could I help? Just a loan, he promised. I sent the money, told him to consider it a wedding gift. Amber did not thank me. She just nodded when I showed up to the reception like it was expected. Then came the requests that started blending together. Their first child, Wyatt, needed preschool tuition, $4,000. The furnace at my parents' house died in the middle of January, $2,000. Marcus wanted to trade in his car for something more reliable but needed $6,000 for the down payment. Each time I said yes. Each time the thank you became shorter. The tone shifted from, "Can you help?" to, "We need this," to eventually, "You will cover it, right?" 3 weeks before Easter, Amber sent me a text. "We need to talk about summer camp for the kids." No hello, no how are you. Just a demand disguised as a conversation starter. 2 weeks later, Marcus called. He did not ask about my life, my job, whether I was dating anyone. He just hinted around the cost of summer camp, $1,200 per child. They had 2 kids now. Wyatt was 6 and Harper had just turned 4. The week before Easter, Mom called to remind me not to forget the tradition of bringing wine and dessert, like I was a catering service. The text messages from Amber kept coming, links to the summer camp website, brochures with pictures of kids swimming and doing arts and crafts, registration deadlines, all with the unspoken expectation that I would handle it. The knot in my stomach grew tighter. I wanted to help my niece and nephew. They were innocent in all this. But the feeling of being used, being seen only as a wallet, started to suffocate me. I told myself I was being sensitive. They were family. Family helps each other. But late at night, staring at my apartment ceiling, I could not shake the question. When was the last time they helped me? Easter morning arrived with gray skies and drizzle. I woke up early in my Seattle apartment, made coffee, and tried to shake off the dread that had been building all week. I stopped at the wine store and picked out a $60 bottle of red, the kind with a label that looked impressive. The bakery near Pike Place Market had my dad's favorite lemon cake, $45 for the large size. I grabbed gifts for Wyatt and Harper too, a remote control car and a doll set about $100 total. Loading everything into my trunk, I tried to convince myself today would be good. Family time. Connection. The drive from Seattle to Ohio took 2 hours. I played podcasts to keep my mind occupied, but my thoughts kept drifting to Amber's texts, to Marcus's hints, to the weight of expectation that seemed to grow heavier each mile. I pulled into my parents' driveway at 2 in the afternoon. The house looked the same as always, the lawn freshly mowed, the porch light already on, even though it was still daylight. I could smell ham cooking before I even opened the car door. Marcus answered when I knocked, pulling the door open with a smile that did not quite reach his eyes. He gave me a quick hug, the kind you give someone you are obligated to greet, then immediately took the wine bottle from my hands. "Thanks for this. I will put it with the others," he said, already walking toward the kitchen. He did not ask how the drive was. He did not ask how I was doing. Just a mention that Amber wanted to talk to me about camp. The house felt warm, but not welcoming. Inside, the dining room table was set for 8. Mom had used her good china, the plates with the blue flowers around the edges that only came out for holidays. The ham sat in the center, glazed and studded with cloves. Side dishes crowded every available space. Green bean casserole, mashed potatoes, rolls, cranberry sauce. My niece and nephew were running around the living room, their laughter cutting through the adult conversation. Dad stood by the window, beer in hand, watching them with the kind of smile grandfathers wear. Diana and her husband Greg were already seated, scrolling through their phones. We all sat down. Dad said grace, his rough mechanic's hands folded, thanking the Lord for family and specifically mentioning my generosity. I felt uncomfortable. The word generosity sounded like a job description, not a virtue. We started eating. The ham was perfect. Mom always made perfect ham. For a few minutes there was just the sound of silverware on plates, people passing dishes asking for salt. Then Amber did not wait. She never did. So, Bailey Marcus told you about camp, right? Her voice cut through the dinner conversation like a knife through butter. I looked up from my plate. She was staring at me with this expectant expression like a teacher waiting for a student to give the obvious answer. Yeah, I got your texts, I said, keeping my tone neutral. Great, so you will handle it like last year. It is $2,400 total for both kids. Not a question, a statement. I put my fork down carefully. I have not decided yet. The table went silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Marcus looked up from his plate, his jaw tight. What do you mean the kids are counting on it? His tone had an edge like I was being unreasonable. Mom tried to smooth it over her voice, gentle but insistent. Bailey, honey, you always help with the kids. Diana leaned forward, chiming in without invitation. Yeah, you do not even have kids of your own. What else are you spending money on? Her tone was light, almost joking, but the words landed like stones. I tried to explain. I am saving for a house. It sounded weak even to my own ears. Greg, Diana's husband, laughed. Not a mean laugh, but dismissive. Come on, man. You make bank at that tech job. It is not like you are hurting. Amber's eyes narrowed. Exactly. It is not like it is a lot of money for you. The implication was clear. I had it. They needed it. Simple math. I felt surrounded. Every face at the table was turned toward me, expectant, some annoyed. The sound of forks scraping plates had stopped. Even Wyatt and Harper had gone quiet in the other room like they sensed the tension. I tried to change the subject, asked Dad about work, but Marcus cut me off. We are talking about Camp Bailey. Can we finish this first? The main course ended in uncomfortable silence. Marcus stood up to clear plates, his movements sharp and frustrated. Amber stayed seated, her eyes still on me. I felt exhausted, emotionally drained, like I was defending myself in a trial where the verdict had already been decided. Then Amber spoke. Her voice was not loud, but it carried. You know what your problem is, Bailey. I looked at her, too tired to even respond properly. What? She leaned back in her chair, arms crossed. You think you are part of this family because you show up. But let's be honest. She paused, and in that pause I felt something shift, something break. You're just the ATM. That's your role. That's what you're good for. The words hit me like a physical blow. I sat there frozen. From the kitchen, Marcus's voice floated out, laughing. Actually laughing. Amber, do not be mean. Greg started chuckling. I mean, she is not wrong. Diana covered her mouth, giggling. Oh my God, Amber! I looked at my parents. Mom's eyes were on her plate. Dad was staring at his hands. Neither said a word. Neither defended me. Amber continued, emboldened by the laughter. What it is true. He never visits unless we ask for money. Might as well call a spade a spade. The laughter grew. Not with me. At me. I felt my face burning, my hands shaking. The grandfather clock in the hallway ticked loudly. Wyatt's toy car made electronic noises in the other room. Normal sounds in a moment that felt completely surreal. I stood up. The chair scraped loudly against the floor. Mom looked up. Bailey, where are you going? We have not had dessert. My voice came out flat, emotionless. I need to go. Marcus emerged from the kitchen, dish towel in hand. Come on, do not be dramatic. Amber was just joking. But his eyes said he agreed with her. I walked to the coat rack, grabbed my jacket. Wyatt ran up to me, his little face confused. Uncle Bailey, are not you staying? I forced a smile for him. He was innocent. Not today, buddy. From the dining room, Amber's voice rang out loud enough for me to hear clearly. See, he cannot even handle a joke. Too sensitive. More laughter followed. I walked out the door, got in my car, sat there for 5 minutes with the engine off my hands, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. I did not cry, but the pain was deep, sharp, like something had been carved out of my chest. All these years, I thought I was building relationships. I thought I was being a good son, a good brother, a good uncle. But to them, I was just an ATM, a machine that dispensed cash when they pressed the right buttons. No feelings, no needs, just a function. The 2-hour drive back to Seattle passed in a blur of highway lights and rain. I could not focus on podcasts or music. My mind kept replaying the dinner, but not just tonight. Everything started clicking into place like puzzle pieces I had been ignoring. When was the last time Marcus called just to talk? When was the last real conversation we had that was not about money or favors? I scrolled through memories like flipping through a photo album. Last Easter, same thing. Christmas before that, Marcus had asked for help with property taxes. Thanksgiving. 2 years ago, Diana needed money for car repairs. I thought about birthdays. Marcus forgot mine last year. Just completely forgot. No call, no text. But 2 weeks later, he remembered to ask if I could help with Wyatt's birthday party expenses. Amber had not even invited me to Harper's 4th birthday party last month, but she had texted asking if I could contribute to the bounce house rental. Diana posted pictures on Facebook from a family vacation to Florida, everyone smiling on the beach. I was not in a single photo, because I was not there. But I had paid for part of that trip when Diana said they were short on funds. The pattern was so obvious now I felt stupid for not seeing it sooner. I was not family. I was a resource, a utility, like electricity or running water, expected to be available, expected to work, and only noticed when I was not there. I got back to my apartment at midnight. The city was quiet. I sat on my couch in the dark, staring out the window at the Seattle skyline lights twinkling like distant stars. My phone was face down on the coffee table. I did not want to look at it, but I knew what would be waiting, and I knew what I had to do. Enough was enough. The next morning, Easter Monday, I woke up at 6. I had barely slept. I made coffee, sat at my small kitchen table, and finally looked at my phone. 17 missed messages. I scrolled through them, each one making my jaw clench tighter. Amber, do not be a baby. Marcus, call me. Mom, honey, please do not be upset. Diana, you overreacted. Marcus again, the camp deadline is this week. Amber, are you seriously going to punish the kids because of a joke? That last one made my blood pressure spike. Punish the kids. Like I was the villain. Like setting a boundary was an act of cruelty. I did not call anyone back. Instead, I opened my laptop and started writing an email. I spent 2 hours on it, choosing every word carefully. This was not about anger. This was about clarity. Dear family, I began. I explained how Amber's comment made me feel. Not just hurt, but small. Reduced. I listed the pattern I had finally allowed myself to see. How our interactions had become transactional. How I could not remember the last time someone asked about my life without it leading to a request for money. I was not angry about having money or being able to help, but I needed respect. I needed to be seen as a person, not a bank account. I will not be paying for summer camp this year, I wrote. The sentence felt powerful and terrifying at the same time. Going forward, I need space to reevaluate our relationships. This is not about punishment. This is about boundaries. I love you all, but I love myself too. And I cannot keep giving pieces of myself away to people who do not value me. I read it 3 times, added a line, deleted a line. Finally, at 8 in the morning, I hit send. Then I turned off my phone. 3 hours later, I turned it back on. 53 notifications. My heart pounded. I started reading. Marcus was angry. Are you kidding me? After everything we have done for you, we supported you through college. That was not true. I had supported myself, loans, and 3 jobs. But the lie was easier for him to believe. You are being selfish. The kids are crying. Amber was vicious. You are pathetic. We do not need you anyway. Do not come crawling back. You were never really family." That one stung more than I expected. Diana was guilt-tripping. "Mom and Dad are so hurt. How could you do this to them? They are getting older, Bailey. They need family support." The irony was thick. Where was their support for me yesterday? Then my phone rang. "Mom." I almost did not answer, but I did. "Hello." She was crying. "Why are you doing this?" Her voice was broken, and it broke something in me too. "Mom, I have been helping. For 3 years. When has anyone helped me?" "We have always been there for you emotionally," she insisted. "Were you there yesterday, when Amber called me an ATM and everyone laughed? Where were you then?" My voice was steady, but my hands were shaking. Silence. Then softly, "She did not mean it." "You did not defend me, Mom." More silence. I did not know what to say. "That is the problem. I need you to see me as your son, not a bank account." She cried harder. "Please do not cut us off." "I am not cutting you off, but things need to change. I cannot be the only one giving." We talked for 15 more minutes. It was painful, but I did not back down. Dad called an hour later. The conversation was shorter. He was not good with emotions. "Your mother is upset." "I know. Can you not just let it go? Would you let it go if someone called you an ATM?" Long pause. "I guess not." "Family is family, Dad. Then they should act like it." He did not have an answer for that. The next 2 weeks were brutal. My phone never stopped. Marcus tried every angle: guilt, anger, bargaining. Then he sent a video. Wyatt on camera asking, "Why does Uncle Bailey not love us anymore?" My heart shattered. But I knew what this was. Manipulation. Using a 6-year-old to get to me. I did not respond. Week 3. Amber posted on Facebook. Vague, but obvious. "You really learn who people are when times get tough. Some family is fake. Some people abandon kids without a second thought." I did not comment. A few mutual acquaintances reached out asking what happened. I explained calmly, simply, I was setting boundaries. Most understood. Week 4, Diana texted. "Fine, we found another way to pay for camp. We do not need you." I replied, "Good, I'm glad you figured it out." She responded with, "Whatever." I could feel her surprise that I was not begging to come back. The guilt was overwhelming at first. Years of conditioning told me I was wrong, selfish, bad, but slowly something else emerged. Lightness. I realized I was not checking my phone every 5 minutes with anxiety. I was not dreading calls. I was not calculating how much I could spare this month for the next crisis. I started breathing easier. The first month was painful but necessary. I threw myself into work, took on extra projects. But I also did something I had never done before. I started seeing a therapist. Her name was Dr. Patel, and she had an office downtown with plants on every surface and a calmness that made it easy to talk. In our 3rd session, she asked me a question that changed everything. "When did you learn that your value was tied to what you could provide?" I did not have an answer, but we spent weeks unpacking it. The pattern had been there longer than the money. Even as kids, I was the peacemaker, the problem solver, the one who fixed things. I just graduated from fixing emotional problems to fixing financial ones. Month 2. I reconnected with college friends I had lost touch with. Jake invited me to go hiking in the Cascades. We spent a Saturday climbing trails talking about everything except family. It felt good. Normal. Month 3. I joined a local recreational basketball league. Nothing serious, just guys shooting hoops on Thursday nights. I met people who knew nothing about my family, nothing about my money. They just knew Bailey, the guy who could not make a three-pointer to save his life, but never stopped trying. I rediscovered photography, a hobby I had abandoned in college when time became scarce. I bought a good camera, something I would have felt guilty about before. I spent weekends exploring Seattle, capturing the city through a lens. Pike Place Market at dawn, the Space Needle against sunset skies, rain on coffee shop windows. Each photo was something I did for myself, not for anyone else, just me. Financially, the change was staggering. In 3 months, I saved $8,000. I did the math on my old bank statements. Over the past 3 years, I had given my family an average of $32,000 per year, nearly 40% of my after-tax income. The number made me dizzy. That was a down payment on a house. That was retirement savings. That was security. Gone. But the emotional change was bigger. The guilt slowly transformed into acceptance. Then acceptance became peace. I learned that setting boundaries was not selfish. It was necessary. I could love my family from a distance. I did not have to light myself on fire to keep them warm. My value was not determined by what I could give. I was worthy just by existing. Then, 4 months after Easter, something unexpected happened. I was at a coffee shop in Capitol Hill, laptop open, working on a photography project. My phone rang. Marcus. I stared at it for 3 rings, debating. Then I answered. Hey, can we talk? His voice was different, quieter, uncertain. Okay, I said, guarded. I am sorry. The words came out rushed like he had been holding them in. Long pause. Amber and I have been in counseling. I stayed silent, waiting. She made me see how we treated you. Not just Easter, years of it. Taking advantage. His voice cracked. I was your big brother. I was supposed to protect you. Instead, I let my wife insult you. I laughed. He took a shaky breath. I am ashamed. I felt my throat tighten. What changed? Amber's parents cut us off financially. They were helping us a lot, and we did not even realize it until it stopped. Now we know what it feels like. He laughed bitterly. We had to actually budget for camp. Had to tell the kids no to some things. It was hard. Really hard. And I realized we did that to you constantly. We took from you constantly. I never minded helping, I said honestly. I minded not being valued. I know. You were right about everything. He paused. Mom and Dad see it now, too. They have been different with Diana. She asked them for money last month, and they actually said no. Set boundaries. You taught us something we should have known all along. Really? I was genuinely surprised. Yeah. You were the catalyst. The wake-up call. None of us realized how toxic it had become. He hesitated. I do not expect things to go back to normal, but maybe we can start over. Slowly. I thought about it, really thought about it. Maybe, we will see. That is fair, Marcus said. That is more than fair. After that call, things changed gradually. Marcus started calling just to talk. No money requests. He asked about my photography, my life, if I was dating anyone. He sent pictures of Wyatt and Harper, but never with a request attached. Just thought you would like to see this. Small things, but meaningful. When Thanksgiving rolled around, Marcus called to invite me. No expectations. No agenda, just family. You can stay in a hotel if you want. No pressure to stay at Mom and Dad's. Just come if you feel like it. I almost said no, but something made me say yes. I drove to Ohio, nervous the entire way. When I arrived, Amber met me at the door. She looked uncomfortable. Bailey, I owe you an apology, a real one, face to face. She took a breath. I was cruel. What I said at Easter was unforgivable. I was entitled and mean, and I am sorry. I studied her face. She looked sincere. Not just sorry she got caught, but genuinely remorseful. I accept your apology, I said carefully. Not forgiveness yet, but acceptance. Dinner was different, completely different. People asked me questions, real questions. Diana wanted to know about my photography. Dad asked about my job, actually listening to the answer. Mom kept looking at me like she was seeing me for the first time. When I offered to help with dishes, she actually said, "You are a guest, honey. Relax." Such a small thing, but it meant everything. Driving home that night, I thought about how far we had come. The relationships were healing, but they were different now. Built on respect, not obligation. Built on boundaries, not guilt. I still helped my family sometimes. Last month, I helped Dad replace his truck's alternator. But he asked, did not demand. He thanked me genuinely. And when I said I could not help with something else, he said he understood. No guilt trip, no manipulation. I learned the hardest lesson a person can learn. Love without respect is not real love. Setting boundaries did not destroy my family. It saved it. I can forgive, but I do not have to forget. Valuing myself is not selfish. It is survival. Real family will rise to meet your boundaries. Fake family will fight them trying to tear them down. I still help my family sometimes. But now they ask, not demand. They thank, not expect. And, most importantly, I say no without guilt. Because I learned that you cannot pour from an empty cup. And I was bone dry. Turns out the ATM just needed a PIN code. It is called self-respect. So let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like an ATM to your family or friends? Have you had to set painful boundaries to save yourself? Drop a comment below and share your story. If this resonated with you, hit that like button. Subscribe for more real-life stories about boundaries, family, and finding your worth. And share this with someone who needs to hear that it is okay to put themselves first sometimes. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps someone out there realize they are not alone. Take care of yourself. You are worth more than what you can give.